Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to be reviewing the third entry of the Avatar series, Avatar 3, or as it's titled, Avatar: Fire and Ash. So this movie, I think, picks up, I want to say, like at least a few months or not long after the events of The Way of Water. And for the sake of context, I did watch this in IMAX 3D, which is kind of the way you kind of have to watch these movies, I would say. So the basic premise is it picks up right after The Way of Water. Spider is having issues breathing the air of Pandora. So Jake, Natria, had to make the difficult decision to possibly send him out to where the humans are so he can breathe. But they're attacked by the Fire Tribe, led by Varang, who has sort of cut herself off from the Tree of Life, from the Earth Mother of Pandora, and is basically a savage tribe. A lot of the elements from the first movie and the second movie kind of merge in this movie, so a lot of the story beats are kind of repeated in this one, such as Jake getting his great Leonatrix back, as well as the whale hunting that was in The Way of Water. Basically, a lot of the elements were recycled a lot. We do get some more development from Spider. He basically kind of becomes a pseudo-avatar. In the movie, he takes in a fungus from Kiri, summons the tree. Basically, what it's explained is just as like spores so he can become a sort of quasi-avatar. He grows a tail bead so he can connect to the tree herself, as well as be able to breathe the air of Pandora, so the resolution solved pretty quickly. It would have been much more interesting if we had more of a journey with trying to get Spider to his destination, but I think that's like a huge missed opportunity. I think the inciting incident and the climax in terms of that arc are solved fairly quickly. Yes, I know it's supposed to show Kiri's sort of Christ-like powers in this world, but I think it would have been much more interesting to kind of see that a little bit more, sprawled out a little bit more. But I really like the curious scenes where she's trying to connect, after that miracle, she's trying to connect with the mother, and she's can't make contact with her. She's always turned away, but at the end of the movie, she's joined by Spider and her sister to keep going forward and to reach the mother to intervene and save the day. The final battle, I really like Varang tribe. It's definitely very interesting, very definitely. Miles Cambridge. You get a little bit more development from Miles. Where you see him kind of start to question the legitimacy of the military and the company's actions on the planet Pandora, which I have seen some people say the humans are in the right. And when I was watching this movie, I did see that theory beforehand. I can definitely make the connection where I can kind of agree with it. But that's besides the point. Natri's arc, I think, is very similar to Varang's arc, where they both lost something very important. Varang turned to apostasy and becoming a savage in the land, destroying and killing and pillaging just to survive, as well as torturing those around her. Clings on to that hope, and I think the biggest message of this movie is basically hope, where you cling on to your faith, so to speak. As a Christian, I think that's a very important message to preach, as 2025 hasn't been the best year. It's been very challenging, and I'm not going to get into it too much here, as I'm just a filmmaker, but things have been complicated, so to speak. Because I know about the theory beforehand of the humans being in the right and Jake being the sole proprietor of the war, I kind of grew to hate him a little bit more in this movie. It's not for anything bad, but like more so his actions are much more questionable, because he's basically training his own kids to be like soldiers in a war. Like I said, the final battle kind of is a mixture of the first and the second. The final battle, where there's an aerial battle with the Banshee and Great Leonatrix. I don't know if I'm saying that right. As well as the sea battle with the whales. And the final battle ends where seemingly where Jake and Miles get into a physical fight, and it looks like Miles is gonna lose, but then he is saved by Jake, his own enemy, perhaps in a show of compassion, and Spider joins in the fight to help bring them both up. But Miles jumps seemingly to his doom to avoid the consequences of his actions. I don't think he's dead. I don't think Varang is dead. I think we're going to see them more, a lot more. But like I said, this movie definitely recycles a lot of elements from 1 and 2. While I can appreciate it, I think it could have been done a little bit more interesting. I think Spider's arc of him trying to. I think the more interesting story is Spider going on this journey to return back to home or be returned back to the humans for the sake of safety for the tribe and for Jake's family. Would have been a lot more interesting, I think, as a premise for a story. And you could tie that with Varang's grieving of losing the very home that she lost, seemingly by the quote unquote sky people. So, what would I rate this movie? It's definitely very tough to say. I definitely do like The Way of Water a lot more than the first movie. I wasn't a big fan of the first movie, but then again, I never saw the first movie in theaters when it first came out or when it was re released. Maybe someday I will. But I did see The Way of Water and I really liked that a lot more. But if I had to rate this movie, I'd probably give it a solid 6.5 out of 10. The visuals were definitely very interesting as per usual. I think the story could have been done a little bit more tighter and a little bit more interesting, I would say. It's not a terrible movie. I think this is the weakest of the three so far, but I'm really hoping that James Cameron does course correction as the films go on, I would say. As this is definitely, like I said, one of the lowest points of the series. I mean, some say that the Avatar never really had a cultural impact, so to speak, but only time will tell once the series is complete or something like that. I think this was the movie, I think back a while ago, James Cameron said that he had finished this movie beforehand. He wanted The Way of Water to cross the 2 billion mark or something like that. So then he could finish up rendering the third movie and just launch that into theaters. But as I said, only time will tell what's going to come next with the series. But what would you rate this movie? Let me know down in the comments down below. And for this year, I would say I'm really hoping to focus more on action movies as I find them more of an interest of mine. Um, as I know on this channel, I've done some horror movie reviews, and horror movies are like my second favorite genre, but I want to start reviewing more what I really like, which is action. But anyways, I will see you soon.